Welcome back to Disturbing the Priest. I'm your host, Brandon Battick, and we are here with an album review, reviewing an album by the New Bedford band All Sinners, and it's their new release, a live album, and not only a live record, but an unplugged album called We Are the Unplugged. Now, I was a little skeptical with this because I'm very, very picky when it comes to unplugged records, especially by metal bands. I do believe there are some subgenres of metal that just cannot pull off an unplugged record. I think grunge is the best example of a genre going unplugged. But when it comes to genres like black metal, death metal, even like some power metal and glam, it's really hard to pull off that kind of live record because sometimes that metal style songwriting doesn't truly translate. All Sinners are here and they're here to prove us wrong. Their third release, which is crazy, with their first being a studio EP and then a live album at the Whiskey A Go-Go in LA, which I'm very jealous I couldn't attend. And I was expecting a studio record for the next one, but no, they're hitting us with an unplugged album. And this is something I was, again, skeptical about because not only do I think these albums are hard to pull off, but this band is so early in their career that do they have it? Are they able to do an unplugged record this early? I don't think it's been done. And I am happy to say yes. They are 100% able to. And that's why I'm happy to make this video. And I do want to make more reviews in the future. But yeah, they just pull everything off. It's 3 songs aside. Really great. Everything's fantastic about this. You wouldn't think their style of metal would translate, but it does 100% in every aspect. In the vocals, in the playing, there is kind of that Megadeth influence in terms of this band's solos, and they translate very, very well. They do a really good job at translating metal to acoustic. It all feels very natural, and it really puts the band's songwriting on true display here, showcasing how well they are at writing material. Everything's so excellent. Even the more metal tracks on this unplugged album just flow so nicely with everything else. The album starts with Buried Alive, which is my favorite song the band's released, and just works so well, especially into Dead to Rights. In the Dark was definitely my most anticipated listen on this because it's a Billy Squier cover. And also, like, is it going to flow? You know, because I feel like with metal covers, sometimes it just throws off the whole track listing. If you're going from thrash metal into like a punk cover, you know, not trying to call any bands out, it definitely throws things off, I think. But we're going, you know, from metal songs to a Billy Squier song. Does it work? And I'm happy to say it works beautifully. And this album flows so nice. And you wouldn't think it would, especially on paper, but it really does. And In the Dark is just such a great cover, man, and really is a highlight of this record. Something I was a little concerned about is in the song Rise Up, there's a lot of power metal and glam singing on it. There's a lot of high notes, and especially when it comes to holding those notes, it's like, does that work with like an acoustic coat of paint? Is that going to work? And it does. And it's crazy, man, because I didn't think it would at all. But Mike kills it with the vocals and really displays how great he is as a vocalist, because a lot of these metal singers kind of sound awkward on a lot of these unplugged records because they're so out of their element and they don't know how to adapt. But Mike 100% does and just sounds so great on this, especially for like a almost like power metal singer. Now, Believer is definitely a standout track when it comes to looking at all the songs on this record. Believer is a track from their debut studio EP, and I gotta say, I actually prefer the version on this record than on the studio version, which is insane to say, especially since we're talking about an unplugged record by a metal band. They really pull it off beautifully, and it just sounds so incredible, and it's Just so great to hear this and get that diversity. And again, is a full display of how great the songwriting is when it comes to these guys. It really shows they're not just great metal musicians, but they're just great musicians, period. Of course, the album closes with the track The Hunted, which is pretty much the band's anthem at this point, and is just such a great addition to the band's discography and just sounds great on this. Everything just sounds so good. And amazing set list and such a great flow. I do want to talk about the production real quick. I feel like the production in a lot of these unplugged records are kind of looked over and I think are pretty bad overall. You're getting a lot of metal producers that kind of don't know how to mix, let alone a live record, but an unplugged album, acoustic, and I'm happy to say the mix of this is fantastic. I'm not going to go around saying this is the greatest unplugged album ever made, but I do think this is my favorite production of any unplugged album I have ever heard. Shout out to Black and Blue Mastering, as well as Dave Taylor for a great recording of this, especially listening to the record of this. It sounds so great, actually, like hearing each individual instrument instead of everything just compressed into each other. Nothing sounds too loud or too quiet. Sometimes a lot of producers like awkwardly mix the vocals because they don't know, is he singing too loud because it's acoustic, or should he be singing behind the instruments? But it just sounds so great, and I'm really, really happy with how the mix turned out. And even if you're not a fan of unplugged records, I think this is totally worth to check out just for the sound of this, like sonically. If their debut EP is a great album to get drunk to, this is a great record to get stoned to because it sounds so incredible. Every note is so crystal clear and crisp, and it just sounds so great. These guys know what they're doing before they're on stage, when they're on stage, and after they get off stage. Everything has just hit the mark with this record. But yes, that is the album. Shout out to Mike, Nick, Bruce, and Roger of All Sinners. Please check out All Sinners if you haven't already. My advice is to check out their studio EP and then just work your way down. They have a YouTube channel I'm going to link below where you can check out some of their stuff. This is the time to get into this band. They're still early in their career. And if you're in Massachusetts or New England, they're from New Bedford. And Roger on the kit here also owns Purchase Street Records here in New Bedford. If any of you love metal vinyl, it is worth every mile you travel. I find some of the most obscure metal ever, and it's like first presses. I found an Acid Rain record sealed there once. I'm like, what? How does this even get here? So not even if you're into metal, they have about everything, but I've lost so much money there and it was all very well spent and so much great stuff. A lot of original pressings and new releases that you can't really find anywhere. Please check out All Sinners on Spotify and all streaming, as well as their YouTube channel down below. So please check the links out. If I was to rate this album, I would give it 12 Narragansetts out of 3 packs of Newports. So please like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot of reviews on Patreon, which you can check out in the description of every video. And there's going to be reviews on Patreon. I'm going to do rankings, and there's a lot of stuff I cannot wait to show you guys in the future of this podcast. A lot of exciting stuff. I've planned a lot more reviews, a lot more rankings. I want to do something. I'm going to talk about the top 50 proto metal albums and stuff soon. So yeah. Also, if there's anything you want me to review, please leave it down in the comments. And how do you think this record compares to other Unplugged albums? And what else would you like to see from All Sinners? But anyway, I've been Brandon Battick, and this has been Disturbing the Priest.
It's death! I've just seen death!